Welcome to Planet Pulse, where we investigate remarkable hypothetical events related to our planet. Today, we invite you to imagine a world that looks just like ours, same continents, same oceans, same blue sky, but with one mind-bending twist. What if Earth spun the other way? Get ready to flip your perspective as we unravel how a simple change in direction could turn our world upside down, rewriting everything you thought you knew about day, night, weather, and life itself. Let's dive into this fascinating alternate reality, right here on Planet Pulse. Gap 1s. Imagine a world you almost recognize, a world with the same continents, the same oceans, the same moon. But something is fundamentally different. Every morning you would wake up to a sunrise, but it would not be in the east, it would be in the west. This is the world of a retrograde Earth. A planet that spins backwards. Our planet, Earth, spins from west to east. This rotation gives us our day and night. It dictates the direction of our winds and our ocean currents. But what if, from its very birth, it had spun the other way, from east to west? Such a simple change would create a domino effect, a cascade of consequences that would reshape everything we know about our home. This backward spin is not just a party trick, it is a complete rewrite of our planet's operating system. The familiar rhythms of life would be turned on their head. The sun, our life-giving star, would embark on a daily journey across the sky from west to east. You would watch it rise majestically over the Pacific Ocean if you were in California, and set behind the Appalachian Mountains. The moon, our constant companion, would follow the same strange path. This is not just a change in scenery, it is a change in the fundamental energy inputs to our planet's climate machine. The daily heating and cooling cycle would be reversed, setting in motion a chain of events that would alter our world in profound and unexpected ways. Think about the forces at play. The Earth's spin creates something called the Coriolis effect. It is an invisible force that deflects moving things, like air and water. On our Earth, it pushes winds and currents to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This is why hurricanes spin counterclockwise in the north and clockwise in the south. On a backward spinning Earth, this entire system would be flipped. The Coriolis effect would now push everything to the left in the north and to the right in the south. This single, simple reversal of direction would be the master switch for a completely new global climate. The consequences would be enormous, touching every aspect of our environment. The trade winds, which sailors have relied on for centuries, would blow in the opposite direction. Jet streams, those high-altitude rivers of air that influence our weather, would flow from east to west. This would rewrite the weather playbook for every city, every farm, every ecosystem on the planet. The familiar patterns of rain and drought, of heat and cold, would be gone. In their place would be a new alien climate, a world that looks like ours on a map, but would feel completely different to live in. It's a journey into an alternate reality, right here on Earth. Every day would begin with this new celestial choreography. The sun would rise in the west. Imagine standing on the west coast of Europe, in Portugal, and seeing the first light of day emerge from over the Atlantic. The sun would then travel across the sky, passing overhead at noon, and finally setting in the east, perhaps disappearing behind the Ural Mountains for someone in Moscow. The moon would follow suit, its familiar phases marching across a reversed sky. This is more than just a visual change. It changes how the planet heats up. The morning sun would now strike the western coasts of continents first, warming the land and the air, and initiating a new daily weather cycle. These new winds would stir the oceans in a completely different way. On our Earth, great circular currents called gyres spin clockwise in the North Atlantic and North Pacific, but on our backward Earth, they would spin counterclockwise. The Gulf Stream, that powerful river of warm water that brings a mild climate to Western Europe, would be gone. Instead, a cold current, similar to the one off California, would flow south from the Arctic along the coasts of Portugal, Spain, and the UK. This would plunge Western Europe into a deep chill, making London's climate feel more like Siberia's. The world's thermostat would be completely rewired. Meanwhile, other parts of the world would warm up. The eastern coasts of continents would now have warm, poleward-flowing currents. The coast of Alaska and Russia's Far East would become much warmer and wetter than they are today. The warm water, once destined for Europe, would be redirected, bringing milder winters and new possibilities for life to these frigid lands. This global redistribution of heat would have massive implications. The familiar climate zones we have studied and lived in for all of human history would shift, creating winners and losers in a planetary lottery. Old ways of life would be challenged, and new ones would emerge. The change in winds and currents would be a complete overhaul. The trade winds, which on our Earth blow from east to west, would now blow from west to east. This would change everything for rainfall. Moisture-laden air from the oceans would be carried in new directions. This would not just affect the weather on a day-to-day basis. It would sculpt the very face of the continents over millions of years. The location of rainforests, grasslands, and deserts would be determined by these new patterns of wind and water. A backward-spinning Earth is not just a mirror image of our own, it is a fundamentally different world. The most dramatic changes would happen to the world's deserts. On our Earth, vast deserts like the Sahara in Africa and the Gobi in Asia are found in the interior of large landmasses, starved of moisture. On a backward-spinning Earth, the new wind patterns would change this. Winds, blowing from west to east, would pick up huge amounts of moisture from the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and carry it deep into a new Africa and a new Eurasia. The Sahara and the Arabian deserts would be transformed. They would become green, lush landscapes, perhaps covered in forests and grasslands. The cradle of civilization would be a garden, not a desert. This greening effect would be global. Central Asia would become wetter. Even the western parts of Australia would see more rain. However, this new moisture would have to come from somewhere. New deserts would form where lush landscapes once stood. The southeastern United States, including Florida, would become a great American desert. The Amazon rainforest would shrink, and a vast arid region would emerge in its place in Brazil and Argentina. This new world would be, on average, a wetter and greener place. The total desert area on the planet would shrink by more than half, from about 42 million square kilometers to just 16 million. This greener world would have a surprising effect on the air we breathe. The oceans would be a big part of this. The new ocean currents would be much more effective at bringing nutrients from the deep sea up to the surface. This upwelling would supercharge the growth of phytoplankton, tiny plant-like organisms in the ocean. In particular, a type of phytoplankton called cyanobacteria would thrive. Cyanobacteria are oxygen-producing powerhouses. They were responsible for first filling Earth's atmosphere with oxygen billions of years ago. On this backward Earth, they would be everywhere, blooming in the newly stirred oceans. The result? More oxygen, a lot more. These flourishing cyanobacteria would pump massive amounts of extra oxygen into the atmosphere. Our air is currently about 21% oxygen. On this retrograde Earth, that number could climb higher. While this sounds good, it could be dangerous. A higher oxygen content would make fires burn hotter and faster. It could even be toxic to animals, including us, who are adapted to our current oxygen levels. This greener, wetter world might be a more flammable and even a more dangerous one. It's a powerful reminder that there can be too much of a good thing. Life on this alternate Earth would be a study in contrasts. People in a now frigid Western Europe would face long, harsh winters, dramatically changing their agriculture and way of life. Meanwhile, people in Eastern Russia would enjoy a warmer, more hospitable climate, opening up vast territories to settlement and farming. In Africa, a green Sahara would support large populations and new ecosystems, completely altering the course of human history on the continent. In the Americas, a new desert in the south, and a different climate pattern in the north would mean societies would have developed in completely different ways. The world map of human civilization would be unrecognizable. The oceans, teeming with cyanobacteria, would be the engine of this new world. They would produce more oxygen and support different kinds of marine life. But this high oxygen world would pose a challenge. Humans and other animals are finely tuned to the 21% oxygen in our atmosphere. Breathing air that is significantly richer in oxygen over long periods can be harmful, a condition known as oxygen toxicity. It can damage our lungs and our central nervous system. So, while the planet might look greener and more vibrant, it might not be a healthier place for us. It's a classic case of, be careful what you wish for. Ultimately, this thought experiment shows us how finely balanced our world is. The direction of our planet's spin is not just some random detail, it is a cornerstone of the complex, interconnected system that creates our climate, our ecosystems, and the very conditions that allowed our civilization to arise. Our world, spinning from west to east, created the specific patterns of wind, rain, and temperature that we call home. It's a delicate dance of physics and biology, and we are perfectly adapted to its rhythm. Perhaps a specific rotation is the best of all possible spins for a world like ours. It leaves us with a final chilling question. We have imagined our world spinning backwards, but what if it did not spin at all? What if one day, the great cosmic motor of Earth's rotation slowly ground to a halt? A world with one side locked in perpetual, scorching daylight and the other in an endless frozen night. A world with winds faster than the speed of sound and an almost unimaginable landscape. That is a truly alien world, and a story for another time. For now, we can look at the eastern sunrise with a newfound appreciation, grateful for a world that spins just right. As we return to our own perfectly spinning planet, it's clear how every detail, right down to the direction of Earth's rotation, shapes the world we call home. If you enjoyed this journey through time, climate, and imagination, be sure to subscribe to Planet Pulse. Here we explore the wonders and what-ifs of our universe, one thought-provoking question at a time. Hit the bell so you never miss a new adventure.